Department. What can I do for you today?
Yes, I have questions on how to obtain an advocate for domestic abuse and get a caseworker,
Okay,
social
give me
worker.
just one quick second. I'm driving. Let me get a moment to pull over so I can help you a little bit better, okay?
Okay.
Assuming this is Keanu Clark, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Clark, where are you currently living?
I don't want to disclose that. It's private. I'm just wanting to get some education on domestic violence, if that's okay. Is it withheld?
Well, it really helps to know where you're living to see if we even have jurisdiction, because the last address I have from you from 2019 is Dallas. So I wouldn't
Okay.
have any jurisdiction, and I don't think I can give you your resources as far as what Dallas could do to help you. I can only give you what's specific to Grand Prairie.
That's fine. I was homeless, so I didn't have an
Okay.
address. So,
Gotcha.
but I'm just trying to find the protocol because I've been having problems getting education on how to escape this situation. A stalker, it's a wealthy stalker that has me blacklisted. But I want to know the normal protocol on what police do. Like if someone was beat up and bruised, what do the police do if they are requesting a
So,
social worker?
well, if, for something like that, a social worker is not really applicable, because social workers are really only to be utilized in times of like if there's a crime against a child. That's when social workers get involved. At the police department, we don't have any social workers assigned to us.
Okay.
But normally when a report is filed, that goes to our domestic violence unit, and they work the case up. And if there are any applicable charges to be had, they will add that on there. We do have 2 victims assistance coordinators that can and do make contact with people, and they can walk you through how to fill out any kind of paperwork from the state for victims assistance. But more often than not, that contact is very limited. If the case goes to the county district attorney's office, the DA's office does have more long-term advocates that work you through the process of when a case is filed.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what's your badge number?
400.
Okay, so if a woman is trying to get the protocols and the information, the education on how to pursue and with a case, is there an advocate and a social worker that she can get if she's requesting one?
No, Mel, we do not have them on hand. It's not like a police officer who's on duty 24/7. You would have to make an appointment with one of them.
Oh, okay, so you can speak with one. It just has to be an appointment.
Correct.
Okay, so you can speak. Is the advocate a social worker?
I don't think either one of our victims assistance coordinators are social workers.
Okay, maybe I would just had a little confusion. Okay, maybe I thought that the advocate was a social worker. So I just had a little confusion there. Okay, well.
It just depends on their background.
Okay, so here's the thing. When I came in, she also said that you were a supervisor?
I'm sorry, the radio was talking. Can you ask that question one more time?
You're a supervisor?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a sergeant.
Okay. Well, when I came in to speak with the advocate last time, and I was trying to speak with the advocate for months, and then I came in and filled out the application and went up there and tried to speak with the advocate on my own, police intervened in it. That's why she was... So I've had a lot of false arrest. And police shouldn't intervene in someone speaking with the victim's advocate. And it happened at more than one location. So I was homeless, so I was moving from place to place because I couldn't get in a stable environment because the police consistently kept intervening and me getting assistance and getting off the streets. So, but eventually I showed them evidence that I was getting stalked. I had a video of a guy that ran me off the road and got out of the car. I had evidence that I had went to the FBI and all kind of other evidence and tried to get into a domestic violence place showing this to the police, and they detained me.
Okay.
Out of Grand Prairie. So she thought that it would benefit me to speak with a supervisor. So I don't know how you can assist. I don't want to be victimized by police. I don't know why police would treat me this way. for me trying to.
So the last time that I showed that we talked to you was back in April of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when I was detained.
Okay. So what I can do is I can forward you, I can't forward you from this phone, but I can give you a number to our victims assistance coordinators, as well as to some folks in our crisis support unit, and they can probably better point you in that direction and what resources are available to you, and just some of the better cases some of the better things that we can utilize to help you out.
Okay, so you don't have any education now readily available on how, what organizations could help me. You don't have that education now. She said that you would be able, but I mean, getting me in contact with all those people is fine. But do you have any organizations that I can look up on the web or anything, or any education?
No, remember, from the law enforcement standpoint, our number one concern is the primary immediacy of when a crime has occurred. Long-term safety, we're able to do things like emergency protective orders if an arrest is made, but we were very limited in what we can do and what resources we have available. So again, our victims assistance coordinators and our crisis support unit, those are someone that's going to have the training and the knowledge to put you into contact with the right people at the right times.
Okay. So police departments do emergency protection orders?
In the event an arrest is made and there was either serious bodily injury or a weapon was displayed.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm not in Grand Prairie right now, but I'm blacklisted from services in Dallas. So I don't know exactly how that would, I've been told to go to surrounding areas since I'm blacklisted from Dallas agencies.
Mm-hmm.
So are they able to help me if I'm not living in that area, but I'm blacklisted from services in Dallas? I mean, where would I go if this consistently keeps happening to me? If you're a supervisor, if the police are detaining me on false pretenses, how can I protect myself? I know that you're a police officer, but I mean, when you need protection against police, what do you do then?
So keep in mind that, we're going to take your original statement, and if there's some investigative follow-up or there's some immediate need that you're in danger, we're going to do what we can to keep you safe. But as I'm looking through the reports here, because I see that you made contact with us twice on April the 16th, 2019, previously on April the 10th, 2019, and as I'm looking at the last report on April the 16th, it looks like there became a concern that you were suffering from a mental crisis and they took you to the hospital.
Right, but here's the thing. I've had a lot of problems with police doing some things that are unethical, and they did detain me. That's absolutely correct. But when they detained me, I tried to get in a domestic violence place, and I showed them evidence of someone who had ran me off the road, video footage of me getting stopped. I had evidence in my phone where I had to sleep in my car, which I eventually lost from the false arrest. But I had slept in the car, and I showed an empty parking lot where someone was watching me and shining the lights on me. I had that recorded. It was in the rain, so it was no reason to be in this empty parking lot for this other car to be there. It was obvious I was getting stopped, and he was trying to cover up his face because I started recording him. Okay, so that was in my phone. I also had in my phone someone that ran me off the road when I was trying to go to New Hope, a domestic violence shelter. I had them in my phone where I was ran off the road. He got out the car in front of the car. Greg got out the car and waited there, and I recorded it and showed it to the police. I showed them where I went to the FBI. I showed them the paperwork in my reports at the FBI. I showed them other police reports.
Did any of this take place in Grand Prairie?
Yes, this is where you said that they were concerned about my mental health, but I showed them footage of me being stopped on my phone. I showed them footage of me getting ran off the road, and I reported it to Garland Police.
So is that where it happened? Was it in Garland?
No, you said that they were concerned about my mental health. I'm letting you know that I showed them evidence of me getting stopped and they was like they were
Right.
covering
So,
for
but
it.
what
It was
I'm
in my
trying to
phone.
establish here at this point is what you showed them of being run off the road, being stalked. Did those incidents occur within the city of Grand Prairie?
Well, I'm thinking that maybe they were biased and maybe doing something.
That's not what I'm asking you, Ms. Clark. I'm asking you, did those offenses happen within the city limits of Grand Prairie?
No, but if you're there worried about my mental health, you need to be assured and aware that I showed them evidence that of me getting stopped. And if I was I was homeless.
Understand that you can show us all the evidence that you want
right,
to,
but I was homeless and living in Grand Prairie.
If it did not happen in the city limits of Grand Prairie,
well, I was homeless and living in Grand Prairie.
Or enforce those laws.
Well, I was homeless and living in Grand Prairie, homeless. So I was trying to get in a domestic violence place.
So that was something that would have to be taken up with the appropriate shelters. And as we spoke before,
well, what you're trying to say is the police. Let's go back into the police that were concerned about my mental health. When I had showed them video footage. Let's not bypass that. That's important. That's pertinent information. Tampering with evidence is a felony. If they had in my phone that these were happened to me, and they saw that I showed them paperwork from the FBI, I showed them corruption of the courts, documentation from the court. I showed them, I had a whole bunch of things before my false arrest, paperwork. I showed them where I had problems with the mail. I put 4 holes. I had the 4 holes at the post office. I had all of that. So I showed them evidence that I was getting railroaded. And instead of them taking the evidence, they detained me. You're a supervisor. So what my concerns are is why the police would cover for such events. And then try to question, slander me with mental health issues if they had the evidence, video footage. But here's the problem, sir.
I said earlier, if this did not happen in the city of Grand Prairie,
let me repeat myself. I was homeless, living in Grand Prairie, and they intervened in me speaking with the victim's advocate. Your supervisor, she said that that's who I needed to speak with to report the misconduct of the police. If I was homeless. I can't report that to you.
After our conversation today, as well as reading the prior reports from almost 3 years ago, I got to say, Ms. Clark, I agree with what the officers did that day.
Okay, but you agree with it. Okay, I see. Okay, so let me go rewind with the video footage and with the 2 incidences, with me going to the FBI. And with all that, all I wanted to do was get in a domestic violence place. And I showed them the evidence in my phone, video footage. And I told them I had went to the FBI. So, and instead of them taking the pertinent, why would they interrupt me speaking with the victim's advocate?
No, that I can't speak to because I don't know.
That's happened at multiple different locations.
So you've been to several different departments and they interrupt you from talking to the victim's advocates, and what do they do at that point?
Well, I never get the services, not even I've been at church asking for help. Police intervene there. I've been at our calling trying to get help. Police intervene there with domestic abuse. Well, here's the thing, sir. The problem here is that I have multiple false arrests. So I'm trying to see if there's some corruption with the police department, if they're covering for crimes that happened to me. Because I've been locked on trains too, and it's on video footage, but they would never investigate. I was locked on a train on DART and threatened. Police have lied, train operators, and I have evidence of that. So here's the thing. I don't understand why the police department would cover for these events and not investigate. And why would they need to question my mental health if I have video footage of events occurring?
So I can't speak to what other agencies have or not done. I can only speak to what's going on in Grand Prairie.
Okay. So anyway, the Grand Prairie police intervened in me talking to the victim's advocate, then had me leave. So I called on my phone trying to get in a domestic violence place. Showed them evidence that I was getting stalked and harassed, and showed them I've been to the FBI reporting the abuse from the stalker. Then they detained me, and then I lost my car. That I had just bought.
Who is this stalker?
His name is Jason Gardner of Vivid Images Baton Rouge. I met him online. I assume I don't know exactly where I met him. but it
Okay.
was an online relationship.
Have you two ever met in person?
Yes.
Okay. So as far as, I mean, have we ever come into contact with Jason?
Well, the problem of it is that each time I report him, his name is left out of the information. And then when I'm trying to get protection orders and different things, the police intervene in that. When I go to the phone company and try to report that he's been breaking into my phone, police intervene in that. They intervene at our calling. So it's like they're covering for him. That's what it feels like to me. So like,
when you say intervene, what does that mean?
Intervene, like at our calling, they show up and tell me to leave when I was trying to get help to get out of the domestic abuse and trying to get assistance with getting housing. They showed up then. I was at Baylor Hospital trying to speak with a social worker. They showed up then. So there's different events where police are intervening, and it's like they're more like covering for the crimes instead of investigating and protecting me from the abuse. I hear that you're upholding the behavior of the police, but I don't know why you would do that if I had video footage of someone stalking me in an empty parking lot. I intentionally parked my vehicle to where, because I knew I was getting stopped. I intentionally parked my vehicle where if anything happened, because I had to sleep in the car, which eventually I had a false arrest and lost it. But I had to sleep in the car, so I intentionally found the most amazing parking spot that if anybody was around me, that it would be obvious that it was something inappropriate going on. Sure enough, someone was there watching me in the empty parking lot in the rain. I'm homeless. So what was another vehicle in the parking lot watching me in the rain? It was at the lake. So I parked in this amazing parking spot, and sure enough, a vehicle was there. I started to record him. Then he started trying to cover up his face because there was no excuse for him to be there in the position that he was in unless he was stalking me. And I showed that to the police. I showed the police that someone ran me off the road going to New Beginnings, where I was eventually arrested for attending a support group. Sitting there at a support group, the police came and intervened in that. I was ran off the road. I picked up my phone and recorded it. Him standing in the middle of the road in front of the car. I had footage of it. Showed it to the police, and they covered for it.
So, what is it exactly that you want me to do?
Well, you said that you questioned my mental health. Maybe proper investigation needs to be done so you can see why all of these events are taking place and the police are ignoring them. It's more like they're covering for the events. That's not proper protocol to interrupt someone trying to speak with the victim's advocate. Why would they not? Tampering with evidence is a felony. Why wouldn't they show that evidence for you? You wouldn't have to assume I was mentally ill if they documented that I had video footage of someone running me off the road and being stopped in an empty parking lot in the rain. If that is being recorded and I showed them with my phone the evidence of me getting stopped, why would they cover for it and tamper with evidence, which is a felony?
So I'm going to go back to what I asked you earlier. Did any of these offenses happen within the city limits of Grand Prairie?
Yes, I showed the police officers in Grand Prairie when I lived in the Grand Prairie homeless with my car that I eventually got towed, and it was new, and I could not get it back, which I would love to sue and get that vehicle, the expenses for that, them detaining me on these false pretenses and me losing a whole vehicle that I had just got. So, but anyway, to move forward, all I was trying to do was get put in a safe environment. I told them about the wealthy stalker. They keep not putting that in the report. And I showed them evidence in Grand Prairie, Texas. I showed them evidence that I was getting stalked in my phone, were getting ran off the road, then arrested at the same place that I was trying to go to when I got ran off the road. Have you ever heard of anyone that got arrested at a domestic violence support group?
Can't say that I have.
Well, you're talking to someone that did. And if someone was to do an investigation, then you can tell that something inappropriate is going on. But unfortunately, I keep falling through the cracks and can't get an investigation. And tamper with evidence is a felony. Hindering prosecution is a crime as well. So
when did all this occur?
Is there a statute of limitations? That you said that you had the information that this occurred that same month I was arrested for attending the support group. So since I
So this is back in 2019?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Statute of limitations has expired.
Okay, so the statute of limitations has expired for me anything to happen. So they get away with it?
Correct. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to prosecute for these types of offenses within a specific time frame, and the offenses that you're describing to me are misdemeanors, and that time frame has expired.
Oh, okay. So the police didn't do an investigation, and now the time frame has expired? Because at first you were questioning my mental health along with the officers, even though I showed them evidence. So there's a statute of limitations for the police having consequences for internal affairs?
Yes, ma'am. There is also a statute for that as well.
Okay. Well, don't you need to update the evidence so I can get protection from the stalker? Because I'm still in DV. Don't you need for evidence for you to update the information that I was getting stalked and they had evidence of me getting ran off the road and me being stalked and they didn't follow proper protocol? That way he can get the consequences. What if he bribed them?
When was the last time that you were stalked by this guy from Baton Rouge?
Well, I'm getting railroaded now still. I can't get services and multiple police lie and slander and try to sabotage my progress and me escaping the abuse. I'm not protected now because I can't get law enforcement to follow the law. They won't do proper investigations.
When was the last time that you were stalked or harassed by this guy from Baton Rouge?
Well, what happens all the time is I try to seek help and investigation and police deny me service. So it's still going on now.
Okay.
They cover for all the crimes.
That's the second time that I've asked you this question. When was the last time you were stalked or harassed by Mr. Gardner from Baton Rouge?
Every day, because I go through the police department trying to get them to report the crimes and investigate, and they won't do it. They're covering for him.
Okay. So that's the third time I've asked you that question, and you've answered it in a different way.
Okay, so here's the thing. To me, I'm still getting harassed because police are denying investigation in my reports and protection. If I go to the police and I can't go to the police right now to report any crimes, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe because I can't report anything to the police. So to me, it's still going on. Police are still protecting him and covering for all of my experience. I can't see my daughter. I have a corruption with the child custody agreement. They won't abide by the law and investigate that. CPS is withholding services. So to me, it's still going on because I'm being railroaded and sabotaged.
So when was the last time Mr. Gardner tried to contact you?
He is railroading me. That's not the way the abuse goes.
I'm asking you a very specific question.
Yes.
When was the last time Mr. Gardner tried to contact you?
That's not how the abuse goes that I'm reporting. I'm reporting false arrest and being railroaded by this man. That's what I'm reporting.
Okay, so Ms. Clark, here's what's going to come down to, okay? I've read the reports, and while, yes, you've been detained, you've never been arrested. You've been taken to the hospital by my department for a mental health evaluation, and we haven't contacted you in almost 3 years. Everything that you've told me today has either happened outside of city limits of Grand Prairie, or the statute of limitations has expired. So here's what your options are, okay? Tomorrow, what I recommend that you do is you can look up on our website, and it has a number for victims assistance. You can call them via phone. I'm also going to leave some notes for our crisis support folks to reach out to you if you wish that to happen.
Yes.
If you further feel that there's something untoward going on in the department, you're more than welcome to come up here and fill out an internal affairs complaint packet. But at this point, that's all that I'm going to be able to offer you.
Okay, well, we were getting into some very pertinent information and you intervened in it. What I'm saying right now, if I can't get protection from the police department and law enforcement and there's a custody dispute going on, which police won't investigate, corruption today, that I believe he's behind, what are my options there? Because you asked me when was the last time he contacted me. I was explaining to you my abuse isn't that way. I'm getting railroaded. Police won't do investigations and they cover for all the crimes that happened to me. My life is sabotaged. My child custody rights. I can't report any crimes to the police. They cover for them all. So I don't have protection from law enforcement. So if law enforcement is denying me services and covering for the hindering the case is a crime, tampering with evidence is a crime. So you could have put in your records that if you're a supervisor, that they had evidence that I was getting stalked and ran off the road and withheld that evidence in the report. They had evidence that I had went to the FBI and reported the false arrest out of Itasca, and that the police lied on me there, and that I was getting sabotaged. They had that, and I had all the documentation and paperwork there, and I showed it to them. I had report numbers, but instead of them following proper protocol, and instead of helping me get into a safe environment, they detained me, which is what I was requesting. Then they intervened me with me speaking to the victim's advocate. So my thing of it is, yes. So my thing of it is if police are still doing that, if I know right now when I call the police department that they're not going to protect me and they cover for all the crimes that happen to me, that doesn't make me feel safe. I'm still in it, being railroaded. So what am I supposed to do?
So I've told you what you can do. You can reach out to our victim services folks, or you can be contacted by our crisis support unit. And if you feel that there's some impropriety going on, you can come up to this department and fill out a complaint packet, which will go to our internal affairs agent.
I believe, I'm not quite sure if I did it for Grand Prairie, but I've already did some reports that have been getting ignored. So what agencies that are bigger should I go into? Because, so, I mean, so if the police are denying me law enforcement.
It has nothing to do. It's what agency has jurisdiction over what you're claiming. However, if you're concerned about a department being corrupt, that would need to be investigated by first the county district attorney's office, and then further maybe the Department of Justice.
I've already been to them and they denied me services. I've been to them, they made me leave without doing a proper report, and I also wrote them. So Department of Justice.
There's no higher entity than the Department of Justice.
Not that you think maybe the FBI may be able to help with the civil rights violations, because if I can't get protection from the law enforcement.
No, ma'am. The FBI is the enforcement arm of the Department of Justice.
Okay, so the FBI can't help.
No, ma'am. If the Department of Justice has already told you no, the FBI will probably.
They just wouldn't investigate. The first time they wouldn't, I tried to do it open, they are refusing me investigation and services, just like the police department. So if the police department is refusing to keep me protected and safe from this man, I want to know where I can go to report that I don't feel safe because police keep covering for all the crimes that happen to me and covering for my abuser, me leaving his name out of all the reports. And like I'm reporting to you now that they had evidence that I was getting stalked. I had it recorded with my phone. And then I was sitting at a support group. So here's the thing. If I'm trying to go to a domestic violence support group, try to go to a domestic violence place, that's what I was asking for. I told them I was arrested in Garland for attending a domestic violence support group. I told them I was arrested in Itasca. I think that this man is setting up my false arrest. They lied on me. I showed them I had went to the FBI to report it. I showed them that I was getting stalked in my phone. It had evidence recorded. Video footage. If I showed them all of this, they're not following proper protocol by having me detained. All I wanted to do was get in a safe environment, and they failed to do that. Just because police are the ones that are victimizing me, lying on me out of Itasca, then removing me from a support group in Garland. These are several different agencies that are not following protocol and not giving me protection or services. This is not just one. But here's the thing. I was homeless in Grand Prairie, and I was asking Grand Prairie to get me in a safe environment. And with all that evidence, they chose to detain me and cover for it. So if you're the supervisor, you are giving me agencies in which to get information. But I need some government agencies to protect me from the corruption to where I can get a valid investigation going and not keep having police cover for the crimes that happen to me and deny law enforcement.
Ms. Clark, we're talking in circles here. I've told you what your options are.
Well, they told me you were a supervisor. They told me you were a supervisor.
I've told you what my department is capable of, what our jurisdictions are, what our responsibilities are, and you continually make the same statements and ask the same questions over and over.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm trying, okay, let me break it down. I apologize. If that all of those events are going on, do I need to go to internal affairs? Who do I report? Because she was telling me that I need to report the unethical misconduct or the misconduct with you. You were saying you were upholding the behavior, and then you said that you were in agreement, and then I told you that I had false arrest and other police corruption. So are you covering for it? I'm just trying to make sure that I can get protected no matter, even if it is the police that are committing the crime.
Clark, I only have control over, and I can only review what's happened within the city of Grand Prairie. After reading the 3 reports that we have taken from you, there is a common theme here, okay? And that theme is that you potentially have some mental illness, which is why you've been detained and taken to the hospital by my department back in April 2019. All of those reports.
I think that's probably slander. We have that, but I think that's probably slander if they saw video footage of me getting stalked in my phone, and then also in Itasca, the police.
Not happen within the city of Grand Prairie.
Well, I was homeless in Grand Prairie trying to get in a safe environment. It doesn't matter where it happened. Okay. If I was getting victimized.
Ms. Clark, Ms. Clark, I think you and I have talked about as much as we can. I'm tired of.
I don't know why when I'm giving evidence, tampering with evidence is a felony, and when I'm telling you about the misconduct